Always interesting when I try and do these things. All right. Hello, everybody. I have a camera. I think I have volume. It's not showing me like it normally does, but if you can hear me, let me know. I know that this is slightly later than normal, so thank you for joining me slightly later than normal. I am not better presented than normal. In fact, quite the opposite, but we have photos and some fun stuff to show, which is very cool. So some of you caught on to the fact that I was probably going out to see the wild horses, and that's true. So I had this trip planned for months and everything locked in for a little bit here. So I've been waiting eagerly for the time to arrive, and I didn't get to tell you that it was coming because I have secrets. But anyways, it was really, really fun. I had the best time. It surpassed all expectations. I was able to get closer, get better photos, and just have a better experience than I kind of set my bar for, because you never know. You're going out to see wild horses. You're probably going to see some, but what's the guarantee? All said, through the whole day, we probably saw about 75, including foals, which is not a bad number. So that was pretty cool. And I should say hi to people because people are here. Hi, Momo. How's it going? Krista, hello. Lizzie, hello. I know later it does make it easier for some people, so this might actually work out better in general for some and maybe not for others, but it's always hard to find a time that works for all the people. Andrea, hello. How's it going? I have lots of photos to share. I haven't gone through and been able to clean pretty much any up but the bay. So excuse the raw footage, but should be kind of fun. I don't have all the photos in there. All said, I think I took 274 photos, and most of those, of course, you get a whole bunch of them that are kind of throwaways, but about 75, which is better than a lot of times, especially for wildies, when you're like, oh, get the camera out, do the thing. And then sometimes they run away. So there was one circumstance in particular where we saw White Spirit, and one of the stallions that he was with was very upset. His name's Red. Was very upset about the fact that we were there and was snorting like a dragon and like, excuse me, you're not allowed to be here. You're too close to us. And then everybody ran away, which kind of sucked because we only had a couple minutes. It's funny because the interaction was caught on a trail cam as well from the horses' end. So you can only see the horses. You can't see us, but you can tell when we show up. You can tell, and it felt like it was a way longer period of time, but it was actually only a couple minutes. So I had a couple of seconds to take, well, not even a couple. Yeah, maybe like 2 minutes all said. It wasn't a very long interaction, but about that long, and it felt like it was a lot longer to try and set up and take photos and not scare them too much and get a little bit closer and all that. So it's very cool. We have Kimberly. Hello, Kimberly. Libby. Hello, Libby. Jody, welcome. Amy, hello. Jess, hi. Your studio setup is goals. I have quite the room. So it's as big as our kitchen and living room basically combined. It's a downstairs like sub living room. I don't know what you would call that, like a living rumpus room? I have no idea. Anyway, quite large. I have a fireplace in here. There's models on that side, all the paints, all the hoarded art supplies, the printers. It's kind of fun. So very, very lucky, very blessed to be in the position to be able to do this full time and have cool stuff. And go see wild ponies. I know it's hard for me to take breaks. I don't generally do that. I don't generally take vacation time or do things other than studio. So it was very cool to be able to get out and see other things, which is fun. And it's research, so technically it counts as work, but really fun work. Katie, there's chunky babies. Oh my god, is there chunky babies? I was trying to get a photo to load properly, so let me see if it did in fact do the thing. My phone was like, I don't want to play the nice things. I might have to play it on the phone itself. So look at that. Jealous with the amount of lighting that I have in my studio. It's not too bad. So I've got a couple of lights that I can position over where I'm working or if I'm filming to make it a little bit easier, or photographing for models. And then lots of lights above and around because you need good lights to see to make art and colors work. So it's kind of cool. Oh, hi Pam. How's it going? That chunky hairy bay is gorgeous. I know. Oh my god. The nice thing about the Wildies is that they have a little bit of draft blood in them. That was from plow horses and things back in the day. And they've done genetic analysis on them, and there was a little bit of Andalusian Spanish blood. So kind of like your Mustang a little bit. A little bit of draft in there. What else was in there? Indian pony, and oh my goodness, I'm gonna mess this up. My brain goes to like draft in Spanish. But they get really, like, some of the stallions are just built. It's insane. So let's see if I can pull up that photo while we're here. But it was so neat. And then I got to see a baby. They had rescued a foal that was unfortunately abandoned, got cut off from its mother. There was a whole bunch of people. It's a public land use area, so that means people can go recreationally quadding and on motorbikes and hiking and camping and all that stuff. It's not very well protected. The horses in general aren't very well protected. It's kind of a similar situation to the Mustangs in the States, where the government keeps trying to kill them and the people keep trying to save them. So, yeah, and there's a big fight and contention between ranchers and all the rest of it. But this little baby, Bubbles, was actually separated out from her parent, her mom, and her band by people that were quadding and thought it was hilarious to chase after the horses. So they made the horses run, and they left Bubbles behind, and they didn't come back for her. So they had people watching her to see if she would get retaken up by the herd, if they would come back, and they didn't. So there's only so long you can leave them. There's a lot of bears and stuff in the area, so they try and go in and save them so that they don't just end up as meat for bears. As nice as it is for bears to eat, kind of like the baby ponies. So they went in and took Bubbles, brought her back, gave her a whole bunch of milk. She's like the cutest. I would have totally stolen her and adopted her if she wasn't already adopted, but she was adopted. Super sweet. Oh, Gail has some pictures of Wildies she photographed. It won't actually let me click on links in the chat, but yeah. So there's a lot of turds out there that don't understand, but it's kind of nice because I went out with the Help Alberta Wildies Society. So I will show you their page on Facebook here. So they are, they don't filter out the stuff that isn't pretty. They'll show that bears do kill the horses. They will show that horses are separated, that they're injured. They don't go out and help every horse that's injured necessarily, unless it's dire circumstances. There's also nature that needs to take place. So yeah, it's quite the page to follow if you're interested in what's going on. Just the other day, Kip was another one that they had to pull out, and they did find a nurse mare for Kip. So this is the nurse mare. She just lost her foal, I guess, the same day, I believe. Yeah, and it's not normal for them to find one quite that quickly, but within 24 hours they had a mare. And I guess he got in his colostrum, so that was good. But yeah, it's quite the deal. And so if you're really squeamish and you don't like seeing some of the stuff that, like, they do post warnings for sensitive content, but it does happen. So if you don't like seeing that stuff, then I wouldn't suggest necessarily following this page, but it is fascinating because I'll post trail cam photos and all the different kind of behavioral stuff going on, which is kind of cool. They've got a drone. All that stuff really helps in the process of tracking things and seeing the behavior and all sorts of really, really neat stuff. We actually, the drone went up to look to see, we could see horses in the distance past a bog area, but we couldn't actually reach it. And set the drone up, and there was probably 25 or more in one big group, a whole bunch of different bands just hanging out together. And within that group, there were 2 stallions that were rearing up and fighting. I'm like, I wish I was closer to that. But we weren't. And then saw Sterling, which was the one that you saw in the photo from the page. But yeah, Bubbles was super, super adorable. It's not letting me load it. So let me put this up on the phone here. But I got to see little Bubbles. And I was giving her scritches. Pardon my really loud voice. I was trying to get her. Can't even help herself. Clacking her teeth. Are you a T-Rex? Are you a T-Rex? And a double whirl on her forehead too, which is super cute. We got to bottle feed her, which was really nice. Just the sweetest baby. There was no hesitation in her with people, and she let me pick her feet up. She's not very old, and just the sweetest thing. But you can see the double whirl there, meaning she's probably a little bit smart. And then they had a donkey named Eeyore that's there to watch over the babies. Eeyore is very sweet. I was trying to get pictures of her little tiny feeties because they had some really cool coloration, but it was very challenging. And then she was playing chase at one point and following me around, but super friendly, super willing to hang out. Here's me feeding her because she gets like 6 bottles every 3 hours, which is kind of crazy. I was very happy. It's like, oh my goodness, feeding the baby. And Mama was super sweet. And she drains the bottles in like 3 seconds. It's just done. Gone. These little toes. Some really cute coloration on her back feet. So she was adopted a while ago. Kip is already adopted as well. Got some cool shots of going up some grade. Like, it was pretty darn steep. But that's an area where bears were laying down and had bedded down. They had a foal had gone the wrong direction, running away from the bears that they didn't know were in the corner by a little bridge. And unfortunately, the foal didn't make it. And the bears had been camped out right kind of not too far away. I guess the wind wasn't blowing the right direction. And yeah, that kind of sucks. But it is also nature. Baby faces are just the best, aren't they? They're so cute. So if you're in the chat on Facebook, Gail has posted a whole bunch of links to photos that she took, which I cannot get to because it will not let me select text and hit links when I'm in here, unfortunately. So yeah, I was giving her scritches right on her sternum. That was the best thing. And then underneath her armpits, she was like, oh my God, chompy, chompy, chompy. Super, super sweet. Like, you could do whatever you wanted with her. I was able to get her to do all sorts of cool stuff. And being able to pick up a baby's feet like that with no effort or problems was very cool. Let me see. I have... So this was the grumpy one. I don't know the names of all of them. I know the names of some of them. So not sure who this one particularly was, but right when we came in, there was a whole bunch of horses, and then took some photos of those that I'll show you in a minute. But these guys were about the second pair that we saw. So there was a bay, and then there was another guy that was a black, and he was pretty funny. So this guy was a little bit irritated that we were bugging him. He was out having breakfast, and we were bothering him at the bridge that we had to go by. He was literally probably 20 or 30 feet from me, which is crazy. So we crept up pretty close and then tried to go by because the bridge is right there. And they didn't move. He just was kind of like, really? You gonna bug me? Which is really, really cool. But super big necks. You can definitely tell that there's draft blood in there. Let me see if this is ready. So let's see if I can put this on. This is just kind of a bit of a slideshow, I guess, of some of the stuff that we saw while I was out there. This isn't all the photos, and these aren't edited to make them look nice. This is as they came out of the camera, so hopefully they're not too crazy. We found this was the first set we came across. There's about 5 babies in the trees. There was a whole bunch of mamas, and there was what looks like a silver bay in there, which is super cool. I didn't get a lot of really good shots of the babies because moms were keeping the babies quite far away from everybody, and we had a mission, so we couldn't just stop in one place and camp out and let them get closer, unfortunately, but that is okay. Oh, the little dude's hanging out in the corner with me. There we go. So I will let that play for a second. So this is the silver bay that we saw. It's different. The one on the left is different than the one on the right. The one on the right was a bachelor band of 3. Those are about the 3rd set of horses that we saw. And then the gorgeously lit photo that I managed to get makes me happy inside. But you can definitely tell there's some silver in there. There's some dark hairs on the legs. There's a dark tail. That was the band that had about 5 babies with them. And unfortunately, it looks like there's not a lot of babies surviving this year. So another bone of contention with the whole Wildie situation is that the government says that they're reproducing too fast. And the people that are out there taking photos are saying the babies aren't making it. We saw only I think 1 or 2 yearlings out of the 75 horses that we saw, and there wasn't a lot of young ones. That one young band of 3 was only really the youngest ones that we could find out there, other than a couple of babies, and a lot of the babies that they'd seen before were no longer with the mares. So yeah, it kind of sucks. So there's always that part of it. You can tell that they're really camouflaged well, so you can see obviously the bay and then the bay hiding behind the tree, but there's enough browns in the landscape to hide most bays. And even the white horses, if you look over on the left photo, right to the right-hand side of that tree, there's a little horse face, and that's Sterling. So we were able to see him and his buddies, because I don't think he has a band right now. They were out. That was the 25 horses that were in the back, but you almost can't see them, even the white ones, which is crazy that they blend in so well. Like, we happened to just see a little flash of tail, and that's how we were able to track down White Spirit, but it's not necessarily a guarantee, and they can be right there and you have no idea. And this is on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres of land. So we came across these guys. So there was a baby with them, but only one that we could find. There was 3 bay, looks like maybe bachelor stallions that were hanging around kind of in that area. They didn't appear to be mares, those ones, because there was another stallion even lower that was separate. So they were kind of in the same area. And then these guys, the baby's super cute though. But you can tell even there, like some of the, with a lot of the birch and stuff, it's kind of hard to see. Those are scuttle toes. They are scuttle toes. His name is now Meatloaf the Beefcake. Yes, Katie, that's awesome. So these are the chunky boys that we saw right at the beginning. So in really, really good condition. That's another bone of contention, apparently, with the government saying that the horses they're starving to death. And we saw one, and it was an older horse, and it is assumed that it probably has tooth issues because there's nobody out there floating their teeth or doing anything like that. So it's kind of hard to maintain if your teeth are all buggered, but most of them are like happy and in better condition than most of the horses that we keep in captivity. So even the feet, it's crazy. They're also going through the Rockies and stuff, so there's that. But the Beefcake was down there. He was just lovely and chunky, and the little black was, well, not little black, he was a big black, but had the thickest neck and just so friendly, ears up, like, hey, what you doing, how you doing? And whereas the bay's like, okay, we gotta move. They're just units of beefcakes. Exactly, Katie. It's wild. So gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous horses, and you can see the condition on them is great, just lovely. Oh, I I would have been happy with just seeing them like that. So, and no other horses, but the day got better. So you can kind of tell from some of the photos I've showed that they hide in the trees in the landscape really, really well. There's a lot of treed areas where they can go in, and good luck finding them because you're not going to be able to see them. They hide behind trees, they hide behind each other, which is super cute. The bottom left pair, so the chestnut there and the bay were with White Spirit, and that's White Spirit, blurry photo of White Spirit. So we'd come around, and Daryl, he runs Haws, Help Alberta Wildie Society, and he was the one giving us the tour, and a couple of other people were with me and him, and he spotted a little bit of a white glint, and he went, "Oh, I think I know where those horses are going." So he zips around, and they were headed towards a mineral block that he puts out to make sure that they're all maintained. And then he places trail cams in those areas so that he can kind of see the activity and keep track of the horses and understand what's going on, who's with who has babies, who's going to have babies, that sort of thing. And also what other wildlife are in the area. There's Bernie the bear and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then this is in the Sundry Wildlife Horse Management Area equivalent. There are others. There's stuff in Yahatinda. There's stuff in Nordegg. There's stuff in all sorts of areas around. I can show you a map in a minute, but I probably should have done that first. Not that most of you will know these areas, but it's okay. So yeah, we came around the corner and get out of the vehicle, and Daryl's like, "Shh." So we kind of creep around the edge, and it's literally a hill that we're walking around the edge of. And all of a sudden he's like, "Okay, you go ahead, take photos." And White Spirit's right there. That's why I snapped a photo right away. It wasn't even in focus because I was so shocked to see the horses right there. They were literally like 20, 30 feet away. And most of them are pretty used to people coming out, photographers. Daryl, he talks to them so that they get used to his voice so that they're not going to freak out, which is kind of cool. Although the red was not happy about the situation. He's the one hiding behind the bay in the bottom left. So it was a thing. So we came around the corner. There they were. And I was taking photos trying to set up. And then Red's in the background going, and then making dragon sounds when they do the big snort. And eventually, within about 2 minutes, they were gone. And see you later. The middle guy is Daryl saying Shy Boy. So he was hanging out the same as the one on the right. That's the same horse. So he was scoping us out as we were changing one of the trail cams at one of the mineral stations, and was just hanging out on top of the hill. We were doing our thing, and then one of the other ladies that was with us was like, "There's a horse up there." Oh, okay, let me go take photos. Lovely, framed in trees. It was just perfect. And then he walked off, which is kind of cool, and I got a couple of really neat shots of him. And we'll flip to the next page. There's just so much to tell. It's so fun. So there's Shy Boy again on the left, just peeking out, looking over the horizon, checking out what's going on. He was all by himself. That's why they kind of called him Shy Boy. And just gorgeous horses. They're absolutely beautiful. And then I got a really cool frame photo on the right there of Red with kind of the trees blurred in the background, and just the colors are so perfect. It couldn't have been more perfect because normally the Alberta landscape is a lot more brown, but we've had a really nice spring start to summer. So it was magical. There was so much green, everything was lush and wonderful, and the horses are happy. And yeah, like Gail, it's correct. And Jody, they're glowing with health. They are not emaciated, starving to death horses, at least in this area. I can't speak to the other areas and all the bands, obviously, but we found one horse that was skinny. Even the pregnant mares and the mares that had just had foals were in really good condition. So, yeah, I'm so lucky, so lucky. I have a little baby. It's kind of a mid-range camera, so it's a Nikon D5200, and my lens on it is only like a couple $100 lens. It's zoomed out to 200, I think. Yeah, 55 to 200. So it's not even a really big zoom lens. That's why I went out there feeling like a little baby. because most of the people that he takes out that are photographers have these big rigs set up and multiple cameras and the giant like Mondo lenses. And here I am with my little one going out there hoping to get good photos. And I was very, very lucky, very impressed. So just so cute. And then oh, their hair, they have so much hair. Poor Turbo has no hair. I feel bad for him sometimes. But yeah, some of the photos were just like chef's kiss. I couldn't have asked for much better. This guy was the one that was with the 3 bays and then the gray, the bay, and the little tiny chestnut baby. He was way down on the bottom. Daryl wasn't sure who this particular one was, and I'm like, well, maybe his name should be Taxi because he's carrying around all these birds, taxiing them around, which was hilarious. And they just kept adding like things onto there, which is very cool. Like birds kept landing on him, and you can see the cool double mane on the one side. So yeah, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm blown away. So I'll probably, I see your comment there, Jess, about editing Red's portrait. Maybe we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna mess around with the photos. Like I said, these are just raw right out of the camera. I haven't touched them other than the one bay at the beginning. But we'll see how it goes. I haven't done like photo editing in a long time, so maybe I'll reach out and get some help. But yeah, he was so cool. I had a lot of fun taking photos of all of them, and he let me pretty close too. And then this was White Spirit. So you saw the photo of him that was blurry before. That is with no zoom at all. How close I was to him on the left-hand side there. I was able to get some really nice close-up shots of him. And then on the right, you can see, so he was with a band of his own mares. And then he got in a fight with a horse named Max and had the living tar beat out of him to the point where I think that was a year or so ago, and he's still kind of limpy from it. You can see the massive amount of scarring that he has on that left side there. And he functions, he gets around, he does his thing. He just doesn't have mares now. And then Max had stolen his mares. He was with a horse named Major. This is Major. So Major has 2 glowing blue eyes. And I'll maybe make that bigger for you guys in a bit. But he's very iconic because of his eyes. There's not a lot of blue-eyed horses out there. Apparently there's one mare that has 1 blue eye, and then Major has 2 blue eyes. There's not a lot of paint and stuff in their bloodlines. But yeah, White Spirit was just so chill. He's been there, done that. And it's funny too, because I think that the stallions are hanging out with White Spirit specifically because he's just so savvy. He's 24. He's not a spring chicken. And he's still doing great. He still looks great considering. He was the only really one other than the one that has the tooth problems probably that was a little bit ribby, but he also can't really walk super well. So I don't know. He's doing pretty good for an old man. And he's 24. And a wild horse surviving in the bush in minus 40 degrees. It's crazy. Gorgeous, gorgeous face. They're all just beautiful. And you can really tell he's just a wise old boy. But they're staying with him because there's lots of bears now in the area. There's a sow and her 2 cubs. And then there's Barney and then other animals that would prey on a horse that is sick or whatever. So these bachelors, they think, are hanging out with him to kind of keep them safe because he's aware of like where the bears are and what's going on, and he's just so wise. So that's kind of cool. That was just neat. And you can see the mineral block there. So this is another shot of them. This is the bay with White Spirit hanging out, keeping an eye on me, making sure I'm not doing anything crazy. And then kind of a candid fun shot of the slightly livery chestnut there. And you can see the feathering on the bottom of his legs. And then the bay shaking his head, which was just kind of cool. It's neat to catch the candid stuff. And so these, to put this in a little bit of context, the photos that I was taking, I was having to take kind of on the fly. So we had a couple minutes at each spot to kind of, whenever we found horses, take photos and then go to the next spot and do the next thing we had to do. So it wasn't a lot of setting up and adjusting settings and messing with stuff. So I'm very, very pleased with the photos that I ended up getting. And I would like to spend more time out there and take time and set up. There's a lot of photographers that'll go and they set up camp in camping areas nearby and come out, spend the whole freaking day for weeks out there camping and taking photos of the horses and setting up properly and getting really close to the bands of the babies to get really good photos. It's just, yeah. And it seems like there's more and more people doing that, which is great because there's more and more awareness that way for the wild horses. And the more photographic evidence we have that they're not emaciated and that the foals aren't super plentiful and surviving to yearlings or beyond, that sort of thing is really helpful for keeping the government from giving them contraception and keeping the government from just culling them and shooting them. So you can kind of see his ribs there a little bit. That was just a really cool shot with his head kind of sideways. He was just like, "What are you doing? Yeah, you don't seem to be a threat." And then I had an awesome opportunity because there was this beautiful lighting in this tiny little spot as they took off into the bush, and I couldn't focus on his head. My camera was not cooperating at all. Like I said, I didn't even have time to put the little leg on my camera to stabilize it. So I'm taking these shots zoomed out to the fullest, in this case with the bum, trying to keep my camera steady, not breathe, click the thing, not have my heart racing too much to throw it off. And then I ended up being able to catch a really lovely, romantically lit and framed shot of him pooping, but pooping fancy with his foot up because why not? So I had to include it because it's too funny not to. Thanks, Gail. It's kind of fun. I enjoy this. Um, let's see. Next one. So then we went to see Freddie. So Freddie is Daryl's squirrel buddy in the bush, and I got a whole bunch of really good shots of Freddie because he was hanging out. Daryl brought some sunflower seeds for him. He'll come running right up. There's another buddy that he has that'll actually like hang out in your hand and eat out of your hand. We tried calling him, but he didn't want to come. He'd just been out the day before with somebody from California, I think. People come from all over the world. There's people that come from Australia. There's one here currently from Hawaii. It's quite the experience. So if you're ever in Alberta or want to come on a trip, make sure you hit up Daryl. So help Alberta Wildie Society. Just reach out to him and you might be able to go check out his ranch and maybe go on a tour while he changes trail cams and stuff. So very cool. He's such a sweetie. I really, really like him. Fancy poop. Exactly. I was like pooping photos. He's even lifting his one foot. It was like, really? Who lifts their one foot while they're pooping? Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff to see out there. And there was other wildlife I could have taken photos of. We didn't actually see any there's the baby again. They're just so built, which is lovely to see. It's lovely to see good bone and stuff. But yeah, let me see if I can close. Ta-da! So yeah, that was most of the trip. And that's not all of the photos, but it's a good majority of the photos that I took, which was kind of neat. Let's see. There's Bubbles again.
So cute. Videoing her, right? Yeah. Follow the milk lady. Get her. Get her. Oh, not me. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Just the friendliest little thing.
She's like, wait, no, she has the milk.
And there was actually, I got her at one point to chase me around and she was trotting and then playing with me. And it was just the most wonderful thing. So yeah, that was the majority of the stuff there. We did put, like I said, the drone up. So I'll show you over here on the Help Alberta Wildies page. This was Sterling. He was back in the bush. You can kind of see that he's got some scarring on him. He's one of Daryl's favorites. And he got some really cool footage of him, including him peeing, because why not? But like, great condition. They're not fat. They're not too skinny. They're doing really, really well out there, which is kind of nice. And especially for the stallions that are always running and fighting and causing a fuss. You can see the hair on their legs. They have quite a good amount of feathering. It's good scarring too, and tons of hair. Look at all that hair. It's just absolutely wonderful. That's the sow and her 2 cubs that have been hanging around eating ponies. So, yeah, there's tons and tons of videos. Bubbles is absolutely a hoot. She gets her little bottles of rocket fuel and then takes off. But it was very educational. They're just wonderfully together, built to survive. Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of the majority of that stuff. They do have a whole bunch of people that work with them, from photographers and stuff. That is Major. So Major's the one with the blue eyes. He's also on the calendar for next year. And I got a hat while I was there. It says "Hands off our wild horses." So super fun. What else is going on up there? Oh yeah, I was going to show you the picture of the land management areas, because they are all over. There's a whole bunch of really nice roans out there as well. They get some really cool photos of them in the wintertime because they blend into the snow quite well. Here's another set. Photo by Anita Stewart in this case. Super, super cute, and no babies. Oh, goodness. But yeah, there's our buddy. Very, very cool. So lots going on there. They are just absolutely built. So fun. So yeah, that was kind of a dream come true. I've wanted to do that forever, so it was very neat to be able to finally get it done. It's kind of hard to just go out and wander around yourself. I'm not the most directionally competent person, so didn't want to get lost in the bush. So I'm very glad and very grateful to Daryl for helping me find my way through there. Let me see. So they did population counts. They're saying in 2024 there was about 14, almost 1,500 wild horses in Alberta, with 1,300 being adults, 166 being sub-adults, and then 3 foals in the sundry zone. So that's not the total, that's the sundry zone. Sundry zone, probably when they did the counts, has the most amount of wild horses in it. Let's see. Pull up the map. All right, so I'll share this on the screen here. This is from the Alberta government website for managing the wild horses. So you can kind of see the areas. There's Jasper National Park and Banff National Park if you've ever been. I live in Airdrie, which is this little guy right down here. So I'm really close to all of these awesome wild horse experiences. I might try and poke into the Ghost River one maybe and see if there's anything that I can see. But the Sundre Equine Management Zone is just west of Sundre, right on the boundary of Banff National Park. Then you have Clearwater, Nordegg, and Brazeau. We don't know how many were up there. That's getting a little bit north and quite vast for the amount. Elbow, I haven't been down there. That's closer to Calgary, obviously. Calgary is just below. You can kind of see where the towns are. And then most is mountains. Like you can see the topology there, or topography there is quite mountainous. So as you get closer to Banff National Park and Jasper National Park, it gets more mountainy. We were kind of in the rolling foothills. There's hills and things, but nothing that I would classify as a mountain. But I live in the Rockies, so mountains are large in my brain. So yeah, so it's kind of cool. It's not too bad. It was about, I think, 2 hours or so to get into the equine management zone in Sundre, which isn't too bad. But I definitely might need to upgrade my lens and go play a little bit more, because that's way too fun. So yeah, and now I'm all inspired to do all sorts of friggin' sculptures and things. I was just dreaming in my head as we were going through and taking photos, and it's absolutely wonderful. So yeah, that was my experience. It was incredible, super, super cool to be able to see everything, and those roads are rough, Cal. So we were on a little like gator quad, 4x4 quad, and it was the whole time just you're being rattled out of your brain. I had a headache for I think a whole day afterwards, just because you're sitting there and the whole thing's just doing the like rockety, bouncy, hitting things. You can go in. There's some roads you can go in by vehicle, but it's better if you have an ATV or something else that you can go in to the little paths because you're better able to see things that way. There is a horse campground called Yahatinda that is in those management zones that people stay in. They do horse camping. I believe Daryl is going out Saturday, so yesterday, to do a horse-ridden tour through there. You have to be a little bit careful because they are wild stallions that you're in with, and if you're riding mares, that can get a little rough. And you have to at least be forceful enough and have enough control of your horse to be able to be around a stallion should it decide to cause shit. Because they're wild, then they will. So yeah, that's the thing. So that was my Thursday, which was very fun. All the Medallion Club stuff went out kind of before that. It looks like they got stalled out at the border. So please have patience. They should be popping up any day, I would imagine, but it looks like things got stalled out. They are having to search trucks for Chinese-made goods as they cross, so that's crazy. But yeah, I can't promise or not promise that you will see Wildies in my art in some way over the next little bit because that is inevitable now. So and I just want to go wander in the bush forever. It was the most peaceful, wonderful, even knowing there's bears and stuff in the area, you just sit there and it was the perfect day. It wasn't too hot. There's a bit of a breeze. It's just quiet. There's no humans. Oh, wonderful. Anyway, speaking of club stuff, I do have a survey that'll be going out to club members for your People's Choice club stuff. So I will be sending that out probably sometime this week or next week. And that'll allow you to vote on, or at least give your opinion on what you would like to see within the club. So other content, different medallion breed poses, ideas, different things for the stickers, and you can let me know what you want to see that way. So that's coming soon. And I should have a teaser of the sticker for June fairly soon as well. So that'll be kind of exciting, maybe even by next stream. Yeah, the big chunky necks. Oh, love it. Jess says, I can't wait to see your inspirations come to life. I'm excited too. And Jody, I would love to see a sculpt of White Spirit with that gorgeous head. He is so pretty. And he's got such like lovely everything. He's just lovely in all the ways. Let me see if I can pull up a better picture. I've been messing with things, so. Oh, and if you saw if you've been getting tracking other than the initial club tracking, so partway through shipping all of the club stuff, I had to change my shipping provider because apparently I'm not allowed to have anything the same way I have always had it. I'm having to change my email service provider. I'm having to change my website stuff. I was having to change now my shipping provider. So Shippo will probably no longer be the company that I use. I'm going to be trying out Pirate Ship, at least for the meantime. And the emails that you will be getting will be quite nicer, which is always good. I like being able to upgrade things at the same time. Let's see, where's his face? Oops. Goodness. That is not what I was looking to do. All right. it is being a pain in my bum. Let us see. Pardon my bouncing around trying to get a better picture of this face. Just such a sweetie. I think I had a side shot at one point too. I don't have it loaded in here, so pardon that. But here's his side on. Just a handsome dude. And you can even see like his eye is just old and wise. Wonderful old man. So exciting. So yeah, that is my trip. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing photos. I have the little I take references for all my stuff, and I have hundreds of thousands of photos on my drives that have not seen the world, which is kind of unfortunate. I will be uploading the photos to the photography page that I have on Facebook, which is Chrysalis Studios Photography. They didn't want to overload the studio pages necessarily. I'll probably post them to both. Just because. And Facebook's like, no, we won't let you do the thing. Why would we let you do the thing? So you can see some of the stuff that I've taken here. Oh, why is it not showing it on the screen? Goodness. Gotta love technology. Stop. Start. There we go. So Chrysalis Studios Photography, I've done some rodeos and things. It's kind of cool to look through some of the photos. But my little camera does a pretty good job. I cannot complain at all. Brooks Medieval Fair was this one. There was a whole fighting warhorse demo that I went to. There's bulls and rodeo stuff in here. There was show jumping. This lovely chonker was absolutely gorgeous. I have tons of photos from Spruce Meadows that I need to put up, but I think eventually I'm going to do a reference photo area on the club page website so that people can take a peek there and have references for color and pose and things like that. So that was the demo. This horse played, I think it was Harley on, or was a horse, one of the stunt horses that they used for the Heartland series, trying to do all sorts of mounted crazy battle stuff and trick everything, and apparently archery. So yeah, photos will probably go up on there. I'll put them on the Facebook page or the normal studio page as well, so you can take a peek. But if you're bored, there's also drafts from the Stampede. It's kind of fun. I enjoy myself. And then from my first Briar Fest, this is where the gorgeous boy, that was one of the references for the Finn that I posted. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, if you're bored and you want to look at horse photos, there are some there as well. Let's see, Lizzie, we were camping on Assateague Island with my friends. And my friend had a mare. One stallion chased us for like 2 miles down the beach and followed us into camp. The police had to be called to chase him off. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so you got to be careful. A lot of people that pack out into the bush specifically don't ride mares for a reason, especially when it's around the wild horses, because yeah, especially not ones in heat, but there's a lot of people that don't necessarily know things. So there's also that. Let's see. Thank goodness for electric fences. We all ran into the paddock just to get somewhere safe. Yeah, and sometimes they'll take horses I saw them have to rehome a stallion that they gelded, a young stallion that was just a bachelor that was just out harassing like the ranchers in the area and getting onto people's property. And the rule here is if the horses go on to private property, they can do whatever they want with them. And so they'll take them and sell them for meat or whatever. So it's unfortunate. So Hawes in that case would go out and rehome those horses if they're doing that. And it doesn't happen very often. They're mostly in the bush. So yeah. Technology's the worst. Went to mail a package out for a friend in Oklahoma yesterday and her address wouldn't show up in the system. It's so frustrating sometimes. And it's just beyond anyway. But I'll be moving from MailChimp to MooSend, like the cow, MooSend. They are significantly cheaper because right now my mailing list for just email mailing list, it's not on my website or anything, is like $70 a month, and that is very unsustainable for the amount of money that I make in studio. So trying to keep the cost down, but everything wants to charge, which is part of the reason why I love Shippo, but they decided that they were going to charge an exorbitant amount per month, and that is not something that I can afford, or I will no longer have a studio, which, yeah, we don't need that. Yeah, so turd. Very, very turdy. That is my studio updates. You guys should be getting your medallions and your stickers right away. If you haven't got tracking and you're a Canadian, it's because I emailed you and I need to know if you want me to ship by Canada Post or take our chance with that, because the mail strike's still on the fence. We might have a mail strike, we might not. They're arguing about it. The government's half involved. It's a whole hot mess. So over it. But yeah, that's the thing. Speaking of June is Medallion Madness month and I need to post about it. Paint a medallion this month. I might do something special for people that do. So there's that little nugget of wonder. So trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. Oh my God, there's so many things going on. Yeah, and then I do have an extra one of these calendars. So I'm going to be giving this away in some way, shape, or form soon. So stay tuned for information about that. And the new sticker and the new stuff I'm working on, because I'll have some painted sales pieces here available hopefully soon. And then we're going into the Briar Festy Crazy and we'll see what that looks like. So, wow. Jody says that's why I went with ShipStation through PayPal. There's also that benefit. So there's no monthly charge. It's about the same price, if not a little bit cheaper, because they don't have the label charge with Pirate Ship. The emails were more customizable, and I could pay with PayPal, which was not the case with Shippo. And Shippo was charging a conversion on my card every time I used it because I'm Canadian, and it had to come off in Canadian dollars. So this way, hopefully, will save me a little bit of money, which would be lovely. So yeah. Anyway, I will be going through and cleaning up some of those photos and posting them soon. You'll see those on social when I do. And then, yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited. So we'll see you guys next Sunday, most likely. There's some shenanigans going on next weekend that I am required to participate in and shouldn't go till Sunday, but I'll keep you guys in the loop. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's crazy. My brain can't catch itself right now. I'm trying to think of all the 5,000 things I needed to do. Oh, hyperfixation of the week was the Wildies. So there is no extra hyperfixation of the week. I will show you quick. The other thing I've been hyperfixating on, ignore the dead grass because it is Alberta. Those are my lovely, lovely lilac bushes and my little parrot tulips that are in the ground blooming by the side of the house. We removed a juniper from down here, but you can see there's two big lilac bushes right underneath our bedroom window, which is wonderful. I'm probably going to put honeyberry bushes in here and a whole bunch of other perennials. That is my bedroom window. It smells amazing. I was not a flower person until recently, and now I can appreciate them. I put some dahlias in. I don't know if they're actually going to bloom, but that is a thing. And there's other horsey events that are happening in the area that I would really like to go visit. And then one more photo before I take off. Look at how much hair Bubbles has. That is her mane, and it is already a double floofy mane, not a little scraggly baby, barely has hair mane. Aw, it's just so cute. If she wasn't adopted, she would be mine. I probably wouldn't have been able to leave without claiming her. We were very bonded by the end of the time there. So anyway, maybe Turbo will get a Wildie sibling at some point if there's another baby that needs rescuing. Not this year, probably, though. My plan was to eventually get a little one because Turbo's 21 and there'll be a point where we just hang out and we don't do the righty thing. Not that we do it super often, but yeah. And then I can trade a baby and it will be ready by the time he's ready to retire. And then he'll have a buddy forever. Be cute. So anyway. All right, have a absolutely wonderful week, guys. Don't feed the trolls. They are getting ravenously nasty these days. That is a whole other topic we might address in another stream, but just don't feed them. Put your energy where you would like to see growth, and more of that, wherever you put your energy, or where your energy goes, it grows. So if you are energy focusing on trolls, they will get bigger. You are feeding them. Feed things to not trolls. Because, yeah. Ugh. Anyway, I will see you guys next Sunday. Love you. Picture soon. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting my work.